G'day folks, how you going? A little bit of a project I've got going this week. It come about because a Facebook page that I'm on, somebody asked a question about 12 volt power supplies for their fridges, and I explained that I was going to make a switch box for my arrangement, and she asked for some photos, so I thought rather than just doing photos I'd make this video up. So if you're the person that asked me for those photos, thanks for the idea to make this video. Bit of background, I had a 40 litre Waeco in the back of my car, and I've now decided to put that into my caravan because the freezer in my caravan, it's only a small freezer, it doesn't take much, and when we're driving, particularly in hot areas, you sort of worry a little bit about the stuff in the freezer starting to defrost. Although my fridge works pretty good, but I haven't had any problems yet, but you sort of worry about it happening. So we decided to put the Waeco in the caravan and run that as a freezer. Then I don't have any freezer issues and I've got more freezer space. But the problem is with that fridge, the 240 volt side of it doesn't work anymore. So in the back of the Waeco you have 12 volt coming in one side and 240 volt coming in the other side. 240 volt keeps coming up with an error code. Now I could send it away and get it fixed, but that would cost me probably a couple of $100 or something to get it done. So I'm just running that fridge off the 12 volt line instead. But it means that when I'm at home or if I'm in a caravan park and I want to run it from mains, I have to unplug it from the caravan battery, plug it into a 12 volt to 240 volt to 12 volt converter that I happen to have anyway, to run it from the mains. It saves my wear and tear in the battery. And then when I'm ready to leave again, I've got to unplug it and then plug it back into the 12 volt. So that's a bit of mucking around there. So I want to build a switch in there so I can just flick a switch between the two different power sources. In the back of my car I bought a new 50 litre, I think it is, Kings fridge. Now that only has one power input in the back, and that's 12 volt. What they do is they have a separate box, like a computer power supply type looking thing, which is your mains power, 240 volt power, and then that drops it down to 12, and you just plug that in the back of the fridge. And that's not a bad idea, because you think of my Waeco, like I said, it's going to probably cost me a couple of $100 to get somebody to fix that side of things, where with the Kings fridge, if the 240 volt dies, throw it away. Probably, I don't know, $80, $90, buy another one, plug it in, way to go. Fix it in a couple of minutes, easy to do. So, not a bad idea. But the problem with that is, the way it sits in the back of my car, is it's really difficult to pull the 12 volt plug out to be able to plug the 240 volt plug into it. So I want to build a switch to go into there, so I just flick between one and the other. Now this isn't a hard project to do. All you need is a Jiffy box, which you can pick up from JCar. Now this box is probably a little bit of an overkill, but I got this size because I wasn't really sure how I was going to put it all together, so I figured I got room to move. I may end up getting a smaller box and redoing it again. A switch, which is a double throw switch, which means that if you flick it one way it's on, if you flick it the other way it's also on, but it has a center off. So that way I can go car, running it from the car, running it from 240 volt, or not running it at all. So I've got that option. Now I got this one from Super Cheap. You can get one also in JCar. That one's a little bit more expensive, and that one you have to solder the wires on the back of the switch, where this one here just uses ordinary electrical terminal plugs. So if this packs up, it's easy to get another one from just about any auto shop. A couple of seconds, pull the plug off, put the plug back on, and it's back up and running again, as opposed to having to desolder and resolder and things like that. Now you do need a couple of cables, extra plugs, to be able to run from the different sources, and you also need your one for the from the fridge itself. So you need three of them basically. Now what I did is I went and purchased these plugs. and I've just forgotten the name of what they're actually called, but I'll put it down the bottom down here what they're called. Merit plugs, I think they are. Yeah, this is a Merit socket as opposed to this. This is a plug. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. I'll put the right name down here anyway. This is a bit more of an expensive way to do it. You could just cut the cables here and just put the wires straight into the box and join them up on the back of the switches and all that sort of thing. The reason why I'm going down this line with these things is because if a cable packs up, I can buy another cable, bang, straight in, and the whole system works. If I hardwire everything in here, then it's a bit of a drama to pull it apart, desolder, stuff about, muck about, and get it going again. Plus also, if this packs up, I can just put this to one side and then pull the plug out and plug this directly into the fridge, and I'm back up and running within a couple of seconds. So a little bit more expensive to do it this way, but more flexibility if something packs up to be able to temporarily get things going again. So the only other things you need is some electrical terminals, a soldering iron, because you do need to solder on the back of these plugs here, and that's about it. And this isn't a hard project. It's pretty much anybody can do this sort of stuff. So I'll show you now how I'm going to put it together. Okay, so what I've done now is I have used one of these Renovator vibrating tool things to cut some slots into the box to be able to fit the plugs in, the sockets in, and I've drilled a hole in the top to put the switch in, like that. So what I'm now going to do is wire up the positives from the two plugs going into the switch and then going back out to the plug which will actually run to the fridge. Now to do that I need to know on my original plug which one of these holes is positive, because if you put it the wrong way around you'll blow your fridge up, or a fuse if you've got a fuse in there. Now I suggest when you get your new cables, check them against your original to make sure that the positive plugs go to the same place on all of your new cables that you get them, because not on these cables but on another fridge with a smaller cable I checked them before I plugged them in and found out they were wired the other way around. So whatever fridge that was supposed to be plugged into, although it did say it was suitable for the fridge I was trying to use it for, it was wired the wrong way around. And that's not a problem. You just take this red bit off here, take the screw out of the centre there, pull that apart and just desolder the two wires in there and put them around the other way and put the whole lot back together again, and then just check to make sure that your positive now goes to the correct plug. Now to do that, I'll just get my multimeter and mine beeps when there's a connection between the two wires. So mine goes like that, but basically if you don't have a multimeter that beeps, that's not a problem. It's just when you put these two together, you'll have zeros across your display. Or if you've got an old needle type, the needle goes all the way across. So all I've got to do is jam that into one of the holes and then put this on the positive end. That didn't beep, so that is not the positive. So I'll go to the opposite hole, make the connection, and that beeps, so I know that plug, that hole in the plug is positive. So I've got to make sure in here everything's all set up the same way. And what I will do is I'll get a bit of masking tape and I'll just put a bit of masking tape on the side of that so that it reminds me which one was positive, because me and my memory, I'll put it down and a couple of seconds later go, oh now hang on, which way was it again? And I'll spend 50 times trying to test it every time to find the right way around. So I'll go get some masking tape and I'll be back. Okay, I've put a bit of blue tape on here. It tells me that's the positive, so that's my original. Put that to one side so that I don't mix it up with anything else. Now I'm going to use this wire here, which is a 10 amp cable, so that'll be plenty enough to do this job. and I'm going to make all the connections to the switch. So now it's important to make sure, let's get my test one again, when I plug this in, so that one's positive, so that's the positive there. I've got to make sure that I wire the positive up to the correct terminal. Got to get soldered onto there. Actually, I'll just make the other one up at the same time. Now, it always helps if you've got the right tools to strip wires and put connectors on, but worst case you can use pliers or side cutters and things to crimp and cut with, so it's not a real big deal. Let's go into there. I always like to leave a little bit of extra wire to allow for mistakes. Last thing you want to do is put it all, wire it all up, and then ends up your wires, 3 mils too short to reach. So I always like to go on the side of caution, which for me usually ends up meaning I've got 5 miles too much of everything I need. So they now got to get soldered on. Need the soldering iron. Do you know, I bought this soldering iron probably 40 years ago, and it's still going strong. Cost me, don't know, I'm guessing maybe $35 back then. Wasn't an expensive one, but it was a good one, and it's been going all the time. The tip's getting a bit bent, but it still works. Oh, I need to drill a hole in here as well for the wire to come out to go to the fridge. Now for that, I am going to cut the cable. You could, if you wanted to, is put a cigarette lighter socket in here and then plug this into this to run it out to your fridge. But the problem with that is you'll end up with 10 tonne of wire that you don't need, considering this is going to be sitting right next to the plug where it goes in. So I don't need that kind of amount of cable. So I'm going to probably cut it off about, I'm guessing maybe there. That still should give me more than what I need, but I can always come back later. Once I know exactly where this is going to end up sitting, I can always come back later if I wanted to and cut this cable and make it a bit shorter. And that gives me all that I can use to make an extension cable out of it. So it won't go to waste. Now, the positive of this, which is this wire here, but I will check it with the multimeter. Where we end. Chuck that into there. It should be that one. Yep. That's whoops, hang on. No, see, plugged it in the wrong hole. It's that one. So that's the positive. That there needs to go to the switch. Now, as I was trying to say before, the centre pin of your switch goes to the fridge. The one on the left goes to one of your input sources, and the one on the right goes to the other input source. And that's it. All we now got to do is just wire up all the negatives from the various different connections onto the one socket, and when it's basically finished. A little bit of a screw up there. Got to put the hole in for the wire, and I've just got to unplug the wire from here so I can feed it through the hole and inside. Advantage of plugs, I suppose. It would have been better to do this before I put the terminal on the back of it. It's alright, it's gone through, it's all good. Right, so that goes on to there. And then we've got to look to see where this gets connected to. Let's just check that again. Into there, positives and negatives down the bottom. Okay, so what I've done is I've now attached my multimeter to the cigarette lighter socket, the positive end, and on the other end onto my multimeter. And with this end here, if I flick the switch over, hopefully that's the right direction, with the cable plugged in, if I hit on that yellow wire, that should beep. So that's wired up correctly, that's going into the switch. And then if I look at the end for the fridge, check that, and the positive works. Now if I plug this in the other end, flick the switch the other way, and it works. That's all there is to it. Now I'll just show you a little bit better what it looks like inside here. Plugs a bugger to get out though. Luckily once they're in, they won't need to come out. So the yellow wires are the two positives coming in from the terminals. And that's going into the switch. So this one is going into here. And then when you flick the switch in that direction, it connects those two together, which sends the positive back out and down to terminal. If you flick the switch the other way, then the positive comes in here and goes back out on this cable and goes out to here. And all the negatives were attached on the negative pin of this plug down here. That's all there is to it. Now it's just a matter of putting the switch into place and screwing the lid on, and it's all done. So it probably took about maybe 20 minutes to do. It took me a little bit longer because I'm doing videos and that, but apart from that, it doesn't take long to do, and you don't really need to be a genius to be able to work it out. It's not that hard. So that's it for this video. I'm just going to build the second one. So I hope that was useful to anybody, particularly the person that asked for the information. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up. No, you don't. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. That'll let you know when I've uploaded another video. And if you like the video and it's helpful to you, give us a thumbs up as well, because that really helps the channel out by making YouTube show my videos to other viewers. And what's the other thing I was going to put in there? Oh, if you make one and it works for you, put a comment down the bottom. Or if you've got any other ideas, you've got a different way you've done it perhaps, put a comment down the bottom. Show us what you've done. It'd be interesting to see. Anyway, till next time, happy travels.